Sunday dinner at my parents' house was supposed to feel warm, familiar, and Southern. But the minute I stepped through the door with Piper and Wyatt, the air tightened. Mom hovered in the kitchen, smoothing the same floral tablecloth she had used since I was a teenager. "You made it, Josie," she said, kissing my cheek like attendance was an obligation she expected me to meet. Before I could answer, the front door swung open and Cole strode in, 30 minutes late and proud of it. "Sorry, folks," he announced, brushing past me to kiss Mom's cheek. "Major investors, big projects, busy life." Dad chuckled. "That's my boy." Cole dropped into his chair and glanced at me. "So, Josie, still balancing spreadsheets in that tiny office of yours, I am a senior financial strategist," I said quietly. He laughed. "Right. Strategist. That is adorable." Piper stared at him. "Mom works really hard." Cole smiled at her like she was cute for trying. "Sweetheart, I am not being mean. Your mom just picked the easy road." Mom jumped in quickly. "Let's talk about something nicer." She pointed at Piper. "Your school play is next month, isn't it?" But Cole kept going, voice smooth and sharp. "Nothing wrong with living small. Someone in the family has to—" Piper's fork paused mid-air. "Uncle Cole, why do you always say things like that?" The table went still. Cole leaned back. "Honey, some people are born to lead. Some people are not." Piper's eyes filled instantly. I grabbed her hand. "We are leaving," Dad muttered. "Cole, that is enough." But we were already gathering our things. My voice shook, not from anger, but from the way Piper looked at me, hurt, settling deep. "In the car," she whispered. "Mom, are we poor?" I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. "We have everything we need, baby, and you will understand more soon. If you are still listening, stay with me." What happened next changed everything, not just for me, but for my daughter. I want you to hear the whole truth. Piper fell asleep within minutes of getting home, her cheeks still blotchy from crying. Wyatt snuggled beside her on the couch, unaware of the storm she had walked into. I tucked a blanket around them and stood in the dim hallway. Holding my breath long enough to steady myself, I walked into my small home office and shut the door. The quiet felt heavy, like the room already knew what I was about to do. In the bottom drawer of my desk was a steel box with a single key. I had not opened it in months, maybe longer. Tonight, the lock clicked too loudly. Inside were folders labeled Hartwell Development Group, Silverhawk Investments, and a thick envelope of old financial statements. My hands hesitated over the documents, remembering the shame and the urgency that had pushed me to create all of this. The night Cole had called me years ago, his voice flat, desperate, almost begging. "Josie, I just need a little help. Temporary. I swear." That temporary help had turned into $10 million through Silverhawk Investments, structured so cleanly that he never questioned the faceless firm buying 51% of his company. He bragged about his comeback for years, never knowing I had kept him from losing everything. And tucked behind those papers was something worse, a refinancing document with my name. Cole had used my credit without asking, long before I became the silent investor who saved him. My phone buzzed. Rhett Dawson's name lit up the screen, Cole's business partner, the only person who knew the truth. I answered. "We need an emergency meeting." His voice was quiet. "Josie, once this starts, you cannot take it back." I looked at Piper sleeping in the next room. "I'm not trying to take anything back. What are you trying to do? Show my daughter who her mother really is?" Rhett exhaled slowly. "Then noon tomorrow. I'll arrange everything." I locked the steel box again, but the truth was already loose. Piper said nothing the next morning. She moved slowly, clutching her backpack like it hurt to hold. When we reached her school, she whispered, "Mom, my stomach feels wrong." I touched her forehead. Did you sleep okay? She shook her head. I keep hearing what he said. Before I could respond, her teacher, Mrs. Calvin, walked over. Josie, can we talk for a moment? Piper seems overwhelmed today. She told me she felt sick, but couldn't explain why. Piper stared at the ground. I saw her small shoulders trembling. I nodded. I'll take her with me. In the car. She leaned against the window and whispered, Is Uncle Cole right? Do people think you're not good enough? Her voice cracked something open inside me. No, I said, and you will see that for yourself. My phone buzzed. Rhett's voice came through the speaker, low and urgent. Josie, I pulled the numbers. Cole committed to 3 major projects without secured financing. If we do nothing, default's hit in 60 days. Piper looked up, startled at the tension in my voice. I turned away slightly. How bad is it bad enough that he is trying to sell his entire stake to Western Ridge Capital? If that happens, you lose controlling interest. Piper tugged my sleeve. Mom, I covered her hand. It's okay, baby. Then into the phone. Set the meeting for noon. Rhett hesitated. Are you sure you want Piper there? Yes, I said. She needs to understand who her mother really is. He exhaled. Then we are doing this. I hung up and pulled onto the highway toward home. Piper's hand stayed in mine the entire drive. Piper stayed close as we stepped into the downtown lobby. Her fingers wrapped tightly around mine. She whispered, Are we supposed to be here? Yes, I said. This is part of the truth. The receptionist lifted her head when she saw us. Good morning. Do you have an appointment, Josie Hartwell? I said. For the noon meeting. Her posture shifted instantly. Of course. Mr. Dawson said to bring you straight back. Piper tugged my sleeve. Mom, people keep staring. They're just surprised to see me, I said. Rhett appeared at the end of the hallway, his expression sharp but sympathetic. Josie. Piper. Come on. He lowered his voice. Cole's already in the conference room. He's agitated. Piper's grip tightened. Is he mad? He is confused. I said, There's a difference. As we walked, I could see Cole's silhouette pacing behind the glass wall, hands flying, jaw clenched. He spun toward the door just as Rhett opened it. His eyes landed on Piper first, then on me, and the anger rose instantly. What is this? He snapped. A family tour. Piper flinched, and I stepped forward. No, I said. This time, you do not get to decide who belongs in the room. Cole pointed at the door like he could push us out with a gesture. Piper should not be here. This is a private meeting. Josie. Rhett stepped in before I could answer. The majority shareholder requested her presence. Cole scoffed. Sierra Mountain Capital is not even in Texas today. Rhett slid a folder onto the table. Sit down. Cole stayed standing. No. Explain why my sister thinks she belongs in a boardroom. I walked to the far end of the table and pulled out a chair for Piper. She sat carefully, her eyes fixed on me. I rested a hand on her shoulder and looked at Cole. I belong here because this meeting is with me, I said. Cole's laugh was sharp and loud. With you, Josie, you cannot even afford your rent without stressing. Stop trying to make a point. I opened the folder Rhett had placed and pushed it toward him. Read it. He glanced down, annoyed until he saw the Silverhawk Investments letterhead. His expression wavered. He flipped to the next sheet, then the next, the color draining from his face as he read the ownership summary. This is wrong, he said quietly. Silverhawk owns 51%. I met his stare, and I own Silverhawk. He shook his head. No, you do not. You do not have that kind of money. I built it, I said, bit by bit, starting from the small inheritance Grandma left me. Every job I have ever worked, every dividend I reinvested, every sacrifice I made while you told everyone I was barely hanging on, all of it added up. Piper leaned forward, whispering, "Mom, you saved his company." Cole's eyes flicked to her, defensive. "I did not ask her to." "But you did," I said softly. "You needed $10 million 4 years ago. You were weeks from default. And I gave it to you through Silverhawk." He slammed the folder shut. "Why hide it? Why not tell me?" "Because pride is fragile," I said. "And yours would have shattered." Rhett cleared his throat. "Josie, you should show him the second folder." I slid another file across the table. Cole hesitated before opening it. He froze at the first page. It was the email he sent a lender calling me financially useless, calling me a burden, saying I was someone he needed to manage so investors would not question his leadership, Piper whispered, barely audible. "Uncle Cole, why would you say that about Mom if she helped you?" Cole's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Piper, sweetheart, that was business talk. Adults exaggerate sometimes." "No," I said. "Adults reveal themselves sometimes." Rhett exhaled. "We need to address the crisis." "Cole, your projects are underfunded. 3 developments in East Austin, no secured financing, and lenders are ready to pull." Cole rubbed his face. "I have verbal commitments." "Verbal does not count," Rhett said. "You know that." I rested my hands on the table. Here is what happens next. I inject $15 million of new capital. Rhett becomes chief executive officer. You remain director of development, but all major decisions require my approval. You stop the secret sale of your stake, and you apologize to Piper. Cole's head snapped up. "You are humiliating me." "No," I said. "I am stopping you from humiliating yourself." Piper reached for my hand. I held it tightly and kept my eyes on Cole, waiting for the next fracture in the brother I once knew. Cole pushed back from the table so hard his chair scraped across the floor. "You cannot take my company," he said, voice shaking. "I built this. You just hid behind paperwork." Rhett didn't move. "Cole, sit." "This is not helping." "No," Cole snapped, jabbing a finger at him. "I am calling my lawyer. We will see what you two think when this goes public." He stormed into the hallway, his voice echoing as he paced. Piper leaned toward me. "Mom, is he going to be okay?" I squeezed her hand. "He will face what he needs to face." Cole's angry words buzzed through the glass. Then, suddenly, silence. A moment later, he stepped back into the room, paler than before. His voice dropped to a rasp. "My lawyer says." "I do not have a case." Rhett nodded once. "Your personal guarantees tie you to the failing projects. You have no liquidity, no equity left in your house, and no authority to override the majority owner." Cole looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. "Why didn't you tell me the truth? Why let me say those things? You did not need my silence," I said. "You needed consequences." He swallowed hard, shoulders sagging as the fight drained out of him. Piper watched him carefully, her small hand still wrapped in mine. Cole lowered his gaze. "What happens to me now?" 3 months passed quietly. The kind of quiet that follows a storm no one talks about but everyone remembers. Rhett kept me updated almost daily. "The lenders are calmer," he said during one call. "The projects are moving. Your oversight is working." At Sunday dinner, Mom looked at me differently. Less doubt, more curiosity. Dad cleared his throat halfway through the meal. "Josie, your mother and I heard what you did for the company." He nodded once, a small gesture that carried years of unspoken regret. "You did good." Cole's seat stayed empty. At home that night, Piper sat beside me at the kitchen table with a notebook. "Can you show me again?" "The chart thing." "Compound interest," I asked. She nodded. "The part where your money grows while you sleep." I smiled. "Sure. Let's practice with small numbers." Wyatt joined us silently. resting his chin on the edge of the table as I drew simple graphs. Piper's eyes lit up with every connection she made. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was absorbing a new way of seeing the world. "Mom," she said softly, "I like learning this with you." Her voice steadied something inside me that had shaken for years. Rhett called one morning while I was packing Piper's lunch. "Josie, Cole wants to meet? He asked if you'd choose the place." I hesitated only a second. "The coffee shop on Barton Springs." "Noon." Cole was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, hands clasped like he was afraid they might shake. He looked smaller somehow. He stood when I approached. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly. I sat across from him. "Say what you need to say." He swallowed hard. "I have been awful. Not just at the meeting. Not just at dinner. For years." His voice cracked. "I thought if I kept telling myself you were failing, then maybe I wasn't." The confession landed heavier than I expected. "I hurt Piper," he said. "That's the part I can't stop replaying." "You did," I said. "And you hurt me too." He nodded, shame pulling his shoulders inward. "I am in therapy now. Real therapy. Not the corporate kind you forced on me. I am trying. Josie." Piper's face flashed through my mind, her tears, her questions, her courage. "We can try," I said slowly, "but only with boundaries, and only with respect." Cole breathed out, relieved. "I can do that." For the first time, I believed he might. 6 weeks later, Cole showed up at Sunday dinner carrying a small wrapped box. He waited until everyone sat before clearing his throat. "This is for Piper," he said. She looked at me. I nodded, and she opened it carefully. Inside was a book about women entrepreneurs from the American South. Cole's voice wavered. "I thought, maybe you'd like to read about people who remind me of your mom. She is the smartest person in this family." "I should have said that a long time ago." Piper smiled shyly. "Thank you, Uncle Cole." Mom dabbed her eyes. Dad murmured something like approval. The room felt different, lighter, like threads pulled tight for years were finally loosening. Later that night, at our kitchen table, Piper worked through her homework while Wyatt built small towers beside her. I updated my investment spreadsheet, the numbers steady and strong after months of discipline. My portfolio had crossed $23 million earlier that week, but it was Piper's voice that mattered more. She looked up. "Mom, can girls be good at money and still be kind?" "Yes, baby," I said. "That is the only version of success worth chasing." She nodded, satisfied, and bent over her notebook again. "If stories about family, strength, and standing up for yourself mean something to you, stay with me. There is more I want to tell you, more moments that changed us, shaped us, and taught us what real worth looks like.